Hello and welcome to Rage Crate. My name is Jay and today I want to talk about Games Workshop's new contrast paints. And whilst I think they are potentially really good in certain circumstances, I'm not sure that they're going to be worth it in most cases. Now, there are going to be some people who find really big use out of this, and I completely respect that. But I'm talking about on an average case by day kind of guy or girl, if these are going to be worth it for you. And why I actually think Games Workshop might be heading for a little bit of a disaster with them. Now, that's the kind of statement that can definitely come back and bite me in the bum in a few years' time. But before we talk about all this, if at the end of this video you like the video, do press like. And if you want to subscribe to the channels, you're interested in Games Workshop, Warcry, Skirmish Games, whatever it is, hit that subscribe button. And that's what you'll get from me, because that's what I'm saying I'll do. And contrast paints, right? I really, really, really love the idea. I think it's a fantastic idea. I'm not a very speedy painter. I'm a very lazy painter myself. So I appreciate the thought and the effort gone into this. However, I have a few issues with them, essentially, right? And I appreciate also that they are potentially nothing new. We've had before inks and washes. You spray your models white, you do your ink, you do your wash, and it looks fantastic, right? And Games Workshop are sort of taking that and formulating the paints specifically designed for that kind of method. So I'm going to have to take Games Workshop's word for it that it's not just an ink. I mean, if it was just an ink, they should have just called it an ink. But I think they're sort of different enough that we're going to take Games Workshop's word for it. Because you could already spray your model white and put your flesh wash over it and it looks good anyway. So that exists. So we have to accept that GW have done their own little thing with this, right? So why might there be an issue? It seems to me that the contrast paints are only really good in certain situations. Right, fair enough, you can't use them for every model all the time. However, it doesn't seem like Games Workshop is necessarily selling it like that. It feels like they're saying this will get all of your armies painted really quickly. And for that, I have a bit of a problem with. When you can go look at Beasts of War video, Pete the Wargamer, people who's Andy from Blackjack Legacy, they've all got different opinions. But when I've seen them and you see there's pictures of them, a lot of the time the colours are looking a little bit splotchy in certain areas, and that tends to be on flat panels or flat surfaces. I can't remember the guy who works for, I think he works for Mini Wargaming, he tried it on a tank and it absolutely looked god awful, right? It just looked terrible. It looked so goddamn splotchy. Now, obviously it's not made for a tank, it's made for miniatures, but if it's looking a little bit splotchy on Space Marines, and Space Marines are Games Workshop's biggest seller, so that's an issue. So let's have a look. So this is a screenshot from a tutorial that Games Workshop put out, I think yesterday or the day before, whenever it was, on how to paint a Space Marine with the new contrast paints. Now on the left you've got the original screenshot that I've just taken off. I've just screen capped it, and on the right I've added more contrast. Basically I just wanted to separate the light and the dark. So the left is the actual real colours that are on the screen, and the right's my heightened version of it. And I don't, maybe you're with me, right? We'll look at the more contrast version because it's a bit easier to see. That looks splotchy. You've got dark areas there, light area there, light area there. Splotchy. This is a flat panel with a white area here, which I think might be where the mold lines actually are, which is a weird issue. But it's dark there, light there. Doesn't look natural. Splotchiness on the leg here, splotchiness on the leg here. Splotchy. There are some really good areas where it looks nice. You know, it looks really nice here on these little raised indentations. It looks nice there on that indentation there. That edge there looks fantastic there. So it doesn't look all that great on Space Marines, at least in my opinion, at least from that video. Now it has been looking good. I know Pete the Wargamer, he's done like a squig, a Night Goblin on a squig, and it looks fantastic, not gonna lie. People were doing lizard men and they looked great. People were doing all kinds of creature videos and pictures and stuff, and they look damn nice for sure. But my problem with it is apparently Games Workshop painted 12,000 Space Marines, and they're using Space Marines and Poxwalkers to sell these. And if Space Marines are your biggest seller, and it doesn't look great on Space Marines, then I think you might have an issue. And then there's a couple of things, one, if you're a hobbyist, like apparently most people are you really going to want to do this sort of cheap? I say cheap, I don't mean it really cheap, but if it comes out like that, people aren't necessarily going to be happy paying so much for the models to have a splotchy miniature, right? If you're a hobbyist. And yeah, I just like if that is the case, that you're a hobby, you're into this to paint stuff nicely, you're not going to be interested in these, right? For sure. And why are Games Workshop using Space Marines to sell them if that's the effect that we're going to get with them? Like, it looks great on Poxwalkers, it looks great on creatures. Surely we should keep using those. Like, that's where you're really going to shine with this product. But it feels like they're saying paint all your armies with all of this stuff, and it's just a bit of a concern that that's happening. And yeah, I'm not convinced that it's going to be a great product, and I think that could backfire on Games Workshop a little bit. Now, it might not do, you know. Maybe, I think I keep mentioning Pete the Wargamer, but I'm pretty sure he painted a Space Marine, and I'm pretty sure it looked good. But then on the Beasts of War video, theirs didn't look that great. Don't get me wrong, they're not claiming it to look great. So it's not in our hands yet. It only goes up pre-order this weekend, and I can't even, like, maybe it comes out at £5, £4 a part with the sprays being £10. Like, meh, okay. But if you already have loads of paints, like me, are you going to want to upgrade? I don't know. Especially when you consider, right, we've just seen this view. I realise I'm all over the place today, I do apologise, but we've just seen this. And I can't help but feel like if I just primed that blue and did a wash, I think I'd be happy with the effect, right? Now, I've got to say, I do really like the way that this is looking on things like the guns. Somebody did that helmets and all that kind of stuff. It is looking, in certain situations, it looks really nice, right? But I just can't help but feel like I would have primed that blue, painted the guns grey, painted everything like a slightly lighter colour than black, that I wanted to be black, and painted the gold, and then just washed each individual bit. Like, I feel like that's just as quick, is it not? And you have potentially more control. I don't know. People are saying that it is quicker. It's quicker, but if the effort to quality is not consistent and you get this like splotchy result, are people going to buy in? And I think, you know, if you already have existing paints, it's a bit of a hard sell to get me to go and buy more paints, extra medium that I need to like water them down and that kind of stuff. It's going to be tricky. And the thing is, it is almost aimed at me. I buy a lot of miniatures and don't paint them. I have literally hordes of Legion miniatures that I haven't painted. So in theory, you'd think, yeah, Jay, why don't you prime them with this new stuff and blast them in a solid colour? Well, yeah, but what I keep doing instead is I buy a coloured primer, spray them that, and then give them a wash, and I think I'd be happy with that result. I don't know. Like, as I said, they're only going up on pre-order this weekend. I haven't played with them in my hands. I'm just going off, like, vicarious experiences. I think it's going to, maybe, you know, there'll be a correct way of doing this. Maybe it's to put more paint on it. Maybe it's to put less paint on it. The one thick coat thing seems to be true. It seems to be that you actually should put more paint on it rather than less, and then let the model do its thing. Whereas if you do it a little bit less, it's drying a little bit streaky, like we get in that image that I've just shown you. But it's hard to say because we don't have them. I just feel like if Games Workshop's own tutorials are looking like that, then that puts me, it concerns me. Whereas I do think, you know, if I was going to get into Age of Sigmar, I've got this flesh eater courts that I might be painting up. Contrast seem like a great idea for them. I prime them the one colour, I base the bodies, I do the fingers, the claws, or whatever it is. Fine. But then on the other hand, I was like, well, what if I just got like a coloured primer, like a flesh primer or something, and then washed them and then did the red? I'm like, it's the same kind of result for the same kind of cost, and I possibly have just as much control. Like, I could just prime them white and then go over them with the flesh coloured wash if that's what I want. So I'm just finding it a little bit of a hard sell. And I had to come on and just rant about this because I've been thinking about it on the drive. I've been thinking about it all day at work, if I'm honest. And I'm just concerned, basically, which is weird. Because I want things to be easier. If I do a painting tutorial, I probably want to use contrast because I think, like, I'm not a good painter. So use the easiest thing for most people. But I can't help but feel like a prime, dry brush wash is better. and almost just as quick. I'm not, like, I think maybe it's a psychological thing. Like, in my head, it almost is a psychological thing. Painting a Space Marine, I'm like, oh, no. But if it's just like prime it one colour, paint it once, and you're done, maybe that's better in my head. I can feel like I can do it quicker, but then I get a bit obsessive about things. Like, I don't want my paint jobs to be bad. I'd want them to be okay. I'd rather have almost no paint job than a bad paint job. And I feel like some people might agree with me. But I'm not necessarily sure contrast will be bad because I don't have them yet. But yeah, this is a ramble. Are they going to be worth it? If you already have loads of paint, are you going to buy them? I'm probably not. Maybe I will for the channel. I don't know. It's hard to say. But if you have lots of paint, what do you reckon? I think this is a non-hobbyist product in a hobbyist industry. Like, Games Workshop sort of sell more models to people who don't play the game, apparently. Or don't play at least competitively. And if you're selling to those people, are those people then going to want to just be like, oh, I'm just going to whack some paint on it? I don't know. It feels like it's for the competitive people to just get up and running rather than the hobbyists. But then the hobbyists apparently make up the bulk of the audience. So, yeah, well, I'm everywhere. I'm absolutely everywhere today. I do apologise. But let's try and summarise the points. Number one. Games Workshop's tutorial on that contrast paint on that Space Marine, I didn't like. I think it was a bit rubbish. There's other images, like Beasts of War would be a good example. They're not necessarily so keen on it on the Space Marine, but they do say like they watered it down a little bit and they were happier with that effect. So maybe there is something to do to make them better. Number three, they're going to be fantastic on creatures. I think like lizard men, zombies, all that kind of stuff. It looks very easy, very quick, very good effect. However, caveat to number three, sort of feels like a white primer and a wash could sort of achieve a similar effect. Maybe. Number four, I don't know how numbers I'm up, but hobbyists, if you've already got lots of paints, are you going to upgrade? Don't know. 5, if you're using Space Marines to sell this stuff and you're getting that, and the bulk of your sales are Space Marines, people might start having second doubts about this product. And if you're going to, they've gone heavy on this one thick coat business. If they promoted it so much and it ends up being a bit of a failure, like, they're not going to back out of it. They're just going to leave them up there. So I don't know. A bit of me wants to just trust Games Workshop because I think they do a fantastic job in many areas doing many different things. But my instinct is saying, oh, I think I might stay away from them. Let me know your thoughts. I don't mean to come across as heavy-handed. I don't mean to be hating on them. As I said, I think they're going to have some fantastic uses. And to be fair, that's what happens in a lot of products. Like, some things look good doing certain techniques and some things look good doing certain other techniques. Generally, not one technique will fit all conditions. So I think in some cases it will look fantastic, but because of it's like a different way of doing it and you have to have different paints, I'm not sure people are going to change because my old way of doing things will still work on those models. It doesn't give me anything new. It just makes things maybe a little bit quicker. Maybe. Anyway, if you like this video, do like. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, do that. I apologize for ranting, but it's been on my head. It's been in my head, and I'm sorry. Goodbye.